What attracted you to the field of MIS?
Growing up, my father bought me a computer, and I used that computer to surf the net, take it apart, build it back together, and eventually play computer games. And like every other computer gamer out there, I was really fascinated by the potential of where games were leading and what future the computer had in our society as well as for fun. So throughout high school, I took some computer classes and learned some basic programming. And from there, I realized that, although programming is extremely fun, maybe this isn't something I want to do for the rest of my life, sitting behind a computer and typing away code for the rest of my life. And at the same time, I was also learning more about the business side of things, so that also inspired me to find an avenue where I could both pursue my ambition with business as well as computers. So that led me to doing some research, and eventually I found MIS. MIS, a combination of computers, business, as you well know.
So describe your experience with MIS.
Well, I'm a recent graduate, and so far I've attained a job at Lockheed Martin working as a systems analyst. So I'm still learning, what the ins and outs of MIS can provide me. But as a systems analyst, I feel like MIS has, provided me enough information, enough knowledge to actually, pursue my career and actually excel in it. I hope to learn more. It's not just a systems analyst, but as you know, MIS covers networking, database, programming, etc. So I hope to get myself more into those fields as well as the development side that I'm already in, and who knows, consult later or something.
Okay, so where do you see MIS in the next 5 years within your company?
This is a funny question because my manager was actually looking for another MIS student to replace, or to actually hire over at our sister site in Dallas. And what he realized was every other program out there, all the engineering programs, all the other business degrees, don't really fulfill or meet the requirements that he's looking for, because MIS, like I said before, gears a person towards becoming a systems analyst. So you have your industrial engineers that are a little bit more technical, but don't really give you that business side that the MIS provides. So if you're looking for a systems analyst, MIS is definitely what you need. It's what it's geared for. Out there right now, even as this economy is failing, or steadily coming back, developers are still in high demand. And in order for developers to do their job, they need systems analysts. So there's still a great need for systems analysts to not only continue to work in that field, but also broaden themselves into working with other people as well.
So how would you say that MIS has impacted the society that we live in today?
I can't say that they impacted directly because they're not, they're the middleman. Let's put it that way. They're not doctors, who are always working on the patient face to face. They're not the engineers who are actually doing the job. They aren't the developers who are writing the code. They're the person who acts as the liaison between your customer and your technical lead. So although they don't work directly with the people, they provide the tools that these developers and engineers and etc. need to do their job. So has it impacted society? In a sense, we're not out there creating new solar energy or anything. That's the engineer's job, but they need us.
Okay, so how would you say that MIS has benefited individuals as well as companies?
Because MIS is so geared towards business, they take the technology side, and not only do they analyze that, but they also figure out a way to manage it correctly. The track for an MIS person, the track I'm taking as a systems analyst, is to find yourself becoming project managing, and then potentially CIO. And from those positions, you're no longer working with your technical stuff. You're more doing the finances and stuff, trying to remember, well, not really remember, but trying to really work with what you have, what technology is out there, and implement that. And that's where you pass that on. You pass that task on to your developers.
How would you say that MIS has posed a challenge?
Because MIS is so broad, sometimes a person will feel that they don't meet the requirements that a job may have. For instance, if the person's looking for a network admin, well, sure, we've gotten some networking done in our classes and stuff, but it's not enough to say, like, I'm a network admin. It's not enough to fulfill that job duty. It's not enough to, I've gotten some exposure to development, but it's not enough for me to become a developer without future training, future classes. So, you find yourself in that catch-22. You know a little bit of everything, but not enough to be geared towards that specific role. But at the same time, there's pluses to that as well. Because you're so broad, you're able to communicate with everyone. And because you're able to communicate with everyone, you're extremely valuable.
Do you see any challenges in the workplace as far as, like, say, Lockheed Martin with MIS?
Like I said before, like, my manager's looking for people with a degree, as well as, someone who can communicate. And that's what MIS allows you to do, is communicate with the customer, communicate with the developers, and bring the two together. You're able to meet the requirements that are needed to fulfill the job. As far as challenges go, not really.
Okay, and how would you say your job would be different without MIS?
That's an important question, because without MIS, let's put my job, for example. I work with a bunch of developers. As part of this software development lifecycle, each job, of that cycle is broken apart by what kind of role you have. Your manager does one thing, your developers, they design the tool and they build it, and your systems analyst. Without them, you have no one to gather the requirements from the customers. You have no one to help you design the system. You have no one to test the system. You have no one to go back and teach the users how to use the system. Those 4 steps that I described right there are gone. Who has to fulfill them? The developer. Coming from like a management perspective, that's money wasted there. If the developer's not working, if the developer's not programming, that's money gone. The more time the developer spends talking to customers or sitting down in meetings, not on his keyboard typing away, it's money wasted. So that's where the systems analyst, that's where the MIS student comes in, or professional comes in and actually does those roles, fulfills those roles, allowing the developer to continue his work, allowing the management to continue their work, and allow the process to continue.
Okay. And would you say that there's any leaders in the MIS field that you would look up to as a company that say they're doing a really good job?
There's no one, there's no like person to really look to say, like, well, this guy is the person I want to be as a systems analyst in my example. Everybody has their pros and cons. Some people do a great job of requirements gathering. Other people do a great job of designing. Because MIS is so broad, you really don't have someone to go to. Sure, you can find them. You can find mentors and stuff to help you with your job. But there isn't like some person that say, I want to be him. I want to be her.
Okay. And do you recognize any potential threats to MIS in the near future?
As we're seeing in UCF, the MS department is no longer going to be in existence. And because of that, I'm assuming UCF is gearing industrial engineers to fill that role. I know I've read in the past a track that the industrial engineer major is providing for their students in order to fulfill this systems analyst role that MIS is geared towards. So yes, industrial engineers will pose a threat, as well as people who came from computer science who no longer want to program. They still understand the technical side, and to pick up the business side is fairly easy. So they have they can easily jump around. So yes, MIS, although it's greatly beneficial, there are other fields that can potentially be a threat to it.
Last question. Does MIS matter?
Absolutely.